Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. So today's episode is dedicated to the behind the scenes process of how I create my content. And I think today's going to be a good day to show you guys a little bit more in depth on how do I create my videos, because I am working on a short form piece for the brake pedal assembly part 2. And it's always going to be the editing softwares that make it a little bit more easier. Let me explain. So I have two editing softwares that I use. I use Final Cut Pro. That one's a little bit more complex, and that one is only available on Mac or PC. And I also use Splice, and Splice is an app that I use on my phone, so it makes it a little bit much more easier. There's just a lot less features to work with, but I definitely like to use Final Cut Pro when I am able to, and I'm gonna show you guys what I mean by that. So let's get started. Now I came to the car real quick because I wanted to come and get my tripods, because see, content creating is so much easier when you have the right appliances and tripods. I don't work with cameras. I used to work with cameras, but I actually use cell phones, old cell phones of mine. I use about 3 to come up with different angles of what I want to record. So that makes it a lot easier for me. Tripods, editing software, we'll go more in depth into that. Let's get started. Specifically this video, which is brake pedal assembly part 2, I am using Final Cut Pro for the editing software. So Final Cut Pro, as you can see, it has a lot of different features, and it has a lot of different plugins that allow you to make the creative process and the editing process a lot more fun, especially when you get to understand and kind of learn like the little shortcuts. That's what makes it faster. It is tedious to learn everything. I haven't even learned everything, and I've had this software for well over 2 years. I think it's been like 3 years. It only costs like $300. It's a one-time fee. Now if you buy additional plugins, then they charge you. They don't charge you extra for the plugins, but there's different companies that come up with these plugins, and you buy it from them, and then you get to install it into this software. So that's how that works. And there was out of the entire time that I've owned Final Cut Pro, there's only been one plugin that I recently bought, and let me show you guys this video. You guys probably remember it. Can you believe that they just put a junkyard card on my clean title, relatively low miles, 2002 Mercury Cougar? My little precious daily that always gets me from point A to point B. Not to mention so much of my free time spent studying for it, and all of the hours working on it, the sacrifices I had to make to keep it going, the dedication, the extra care. So in that video, I used the text message plugin, and that did not come with Final Cut Pro. It was actually sold by a different company that makes plugins for Final Cut Pro, and that plugin costs like about $35 if I'm not mistaken. So to make that video was $35, and was it worth it? Yes, it was worth it, because you know, I had this like creative spark, and I was just like, yeah, let me make the video exactly how I envisioned it, and I was able to make it. So that definitely made me very happy. Okay, so now let me go back to this, but let me shorten this up. And so this is kind of how this starts. And short form, you're only gonna see it like this on your computer, so it's literally cut off to the middle. And widescreen, which is going to be horizontal layout for content, is going to be it's going to cover the entire computer. So I already came up with part 1. I already finalized it, and I uploaded it on all my social media websites, so Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts as well. And now I wanted to create part 2. Part 2 is going to be a little different, but it's all part of the same storyline. So now I'm going to be able to show you guys the layout that I created, to get the ideas out of my head and to get them on paper, and then later to get them on the computer, and then to finalize them with like all the little special editing techniques and so on and so forth. So let me show you guys this layout. Okay guys, so this is the layout. This is the format that I use to get the idea that comes into my mind into a physical finalized video edit. So now I do have main categories here. I have subcategories, and all content creators are different. They all work very differently on how they want to format and create their content. But this is what works better for the way that I think and my mindset. So the first thing, I have the immediate idea of whether I want to do a restoration or an assembly, a step-by-step, a tutorial of whatever that I want to create, which my niche for my video and my content is my car work. So my Toyota Supra build and working on my Mercury Cougar. Now I have a script. Once I come up with that idea, my mind starts rushing with the dialogue and exactly what I want to say, if I want to be formal. And I can't have a final script, or I can't come up with this final script until I have the editing technique done. So the editing technique goes hand in hand with the script, meaning like if I want to add plugins, features into whatever idea that I'm creating, if I want to go funny, if I want to go formal. Now once I have editing techniques, I'll have my final script. Then I have editing software. Editing software, I can only choose based on how complex I want my video to be. So I like to do English and Spanish videos, so depending on how complex I want to be with that, and also depending on how efficient that I want to create this video, then I will choose the editing software. 80% of my videos are made with Splice because it's a lot easier to create content, especially on my phone, just because of the fact that all of my videos are captured with my phone. Now Final Cut Pro, if I want to go real complex, then I have to take these extra steps just to get the videos onto my computer and finalize my videos through Final Cut Pro. And of course the last step is finalize the videos. So this is what works for me. This is my specific little layout. Everybody works a little bit different, but I think this really helps to get everything across in a timely manner. Brake pedal assembly part 2. My method of restoration is pretty simple. Take it apart, sand away any rust, replace any broken or damaged parts, paint it, and put it back together. The only difficult part of this process was actually getting the pedal back into that bracket. It was super difficult to get it out, and I knew it was going to be a pain to get it back in. At some point, I even had to use my feet to get it to slide into place. Once it was in, I screwed on the sensor. The assembly process was brutal. For the quick paint job, and there was no doubt that I was going to touch up that paint again. And there we have it. One more part complete for my Toyota Supra build process. And there we have it. Now I get to download it, and it's downloading, and I get to send it to my phone. Cool. And I send it to my phone. Assembly part 2. My method of restoration is pretty simple. Take it apart, sand away any rust. Brake pedal assembly part 2. My method of restoration is pretty simple. Take it apart, sand away any rust, replace any broken or damaged parts, paint it, and put it back together. The only difficult part of this process was actually getting the pedal back into that bracket. It was super difficult to get it out, and I knew it was going to be a pain to get it back in. At some point, I even had to use my feet to get it to slide into place. The assembly process was brutal for the quick paint job, and there was no doubt that I was going to touch up that paint again. And there we have it. One more part complete for my Toyota Supra build.